Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and today I set my critical eye in crashing the party in Party Hard 2. It's the sequel to the developer Pinocchio Games' 2015 hit, and it's published again by Tiny Build Games. It's a stealth strategy game where you pick off targets one by one as your friendly neighborhood serial killer. And it comes out on the PC on October 25th, 2018 for $19.99. But before I begin this review, this key was obtained from the publisher for the purposes of review. That won't change my opinion of the game in the end, but you should know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Alright, so we have a typical level of Party Hard here. This is the second level in the game. I've gotten to Act 2 and the first level within that act, which is about 7 levels in, and I'll explain that it took a while to get there. I've got about 13 hours in the game, and there's a reason why to that. Now, here's the thing. This is a serial killer game, but it's a stealth game. And why is it a stealth game? Well, let me show you. Okay, I gotta kill 66 people? Oh. Notice how people are noticing that I sort of stabbed people. And now this guy is running off. He's running off. I don't have enough stamina. He's calling the cops right now. And the cops are coming. And see, I'm about to get arrested. I could try to take them all out. Nope. And I'm done. Okay, so the brute force method isn't going to work. How am I going to beat this level? Well, I've got a couple of options. In the top left-hand corner of the screen, you have your two main options with that orb. I can kill the dealers and kill the bikers in the level, which are those red arrows that you specifically see here, right? You know, the guy jumping up and down, which is a really weird dance when you think about it. Or I can kill everybody. Now, one of my big complaints about the objective screen is that you would think that the kill dealers and the kill bikers is one task, and then the kill them all and take money and bribe the punk is another task. No. Those other two are specific options in which it will give you a little bit more story, or it will give you a bonus at the end of the level. So for like the take the money for the save portion, I know that I can go here, go up to this poster, which is, I believe, right here. Even though there is some random generation, certain things stay in certain places, like that poster from what I've seen. And let's go back through the shortcut, go up here, and look and find our safe. Hey, guys, I know you're dancing back here. I'm not sure why you're dancing back here, but that's okay. Got the cash. Now, good. Bribe the punk. Oh, hey, look, here's a punk. I'm gonna have to wait for him. Okay, there we go. So, let me pay him. Bribe the punk. What's the punk gonna do? Well, let's see. Let's follow him. I'm leading on this one. There's a reason why I'm doing this. So let's see what he does. Because those alternate objectives usually work out in your favor. So he's going right to the dance floor. Uh-oh. He lit one of the... see? Now, I could have done that myself, and yeah, most of the time I could easily get away with it. But the punk is going to take the fall for me, and that is a little bit of a fun interaction. I like the unique interactions in this game, and when it comes to the levels, it can really get very specific. Like this poster here, for example. What is this, the bear Wait, call the circus? All right, let's call the circus. It's a hidden objective. That's cool. All right. What? Are we going to, have some clowns come in? Or are we going to have some, Yep, we have DJ Bear here. There are little events like that, like the Terminator showing up in a hospital level, that can actually cause you a little bit more panic. Like, if he sees you with your knife out, he's going to attack you. And that could come back and bite you in the ass. Or the bear bite you in the ass. But regardless, it can cause a little bit of chaos, and sometimes you can take advantage of that chaos. Now, There are other ways to kill people besides your knife, but sometimes the knife is what you really want to do. Because, like, look at this. I've got tons of people all over the place. And while, yes, I could, stab somebody, like I showed you before, that's not always the best case. So there's usually interactables in the environment. So, okay, we got this guy walking over here. Let's break this jukebox. Yeah, he's dancing by the jukebox. He's having a good old time. Don't think anybody noticed that, yeah, he's not having a good time anymore. Now, even though I like those interactions, it really is dependent on the level. And one of the big problems I have, especially with this version of the game, more than maybe Party Hard 1, is that there are certain levels where those interactions are very limited. And trying to get people to come to those certain interactions can really be hard, especially if you're going for these, specific people. Now, you can lure people with your dance moves, like you see here. We'll wait a little bit, see if anybody takes the bait. You see, that guy was like, oh, hey, he's dancing great. I'm going to come over and, join him. And sometimes you can get people to get over to those certain hazards, like this red guy here, and then sort of walk off like, oh, hey, shit just happens. That speaker's going to break. Oh. And that is the best part of the game, when you're able to use your intelligence and figure out a way to take out those key targets and maybe minimize other damage. Granted, I did kill other people in there, and there can be times that I've seen, and don't quote me on this, there are times where if you just kill the specific people, it seems like the game will give you an even bigger bonus. Like, oh, hey, you killed only those specific people. At least I think that was the case. I can't say that I haven't gotten it or have gotten it in other levels besides the first one, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. Now, police come, they, take care of things. All right, we need to go about our business at this point. And we have some other ways of dealing with things. Not just the environment, but you can find items. For example, we've got a frag grenade. And we got booze. Booze. There's a variety of things I can do with booze, but booze by itself is not going to do much. Well, maybe I need to find something to mix with it. And that's one of the key additions in the game, is this ability to mix things and match things. I'm going to look for some gasoline. Let's see. There's sometimes gasoline in this top left corner. And there's more booze down there. Ah, there we go. We got some gas up here. And that was my instinct, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we have our gasoline. There's a craft available, and I can hold it. And now I have a Molotov cocktail, which, being able to throw flames, reasonable. So the thing is, this is where the game gets weird. So when it comes to stabbing, things are pretty straightforward. But when it comes to these other things, not so much. So let me show you. This guy is dancing up in the corner here, right? She can definitely see me. Nope, it wasn't me. He's definitely dead based off that Molotov, and she definitely saw that I threw the Molotov. But because I threw it, the game doesn't necessarily always catch you. Sometimes it does, and it actually confuses you even more because of the inconsistency of that. And that's one of my big gripes about this game, is the fact that some of its rules are very, very strange. So let's talk about the rules. So the stabbing rules, for example. The idea here is basic, right? The fact is, if somebody sees you stab somebody and you are within their line of sight, they should catch you, call the cops. But sometimes it's not very straightforward if you're in their line of sight or not. Now, like distance-wise here. Okay, you were away from other people, but you seem to be within the distance. And that guy came up and, said, oh, hey, there's a dead body. I'm going to go phone the cops. Pretty quickly after I stabbed him. So it's like, okay, I'm the only guy around and I stabbed him and you're not calling the cops on me? Okay, that's weird. There are other times where it gets a little bit more complicated, and I do understand where the complication comes from. One of the scenarios I had, and I wish I had that, hopefully I do have the clip, but down here, I stabbed somebody when I was about to kill the last target, and somebody was standing in the perfect spot, or seemingly in the perfect spot, where they saw me through this hole, even though I think I was right here when I killed the person. And I sat there going, wait a minute, I have this huge rock here. How the hell did you see me? And sometimes you're sitting there going, did they see me? Or did the detection not necessarily work? And you're questioning yourself over and over again. Let's also then talk about the ranged weapons of the game, because that's one of the bigger gripes I had with it. The thing is, Molotovs, for example. All right, let's try to kill somebody with a Molotov cocktail. Let's try to kill one of these bikers guys. All right, you think that's pretty on point, right? I mean, I don't think I would think that that's a miss. But wait, she just turned white while I was aiming at her. Okay, hold on, let's just throw it. It took a while, didn't it? Well, that's because if it's not a direct hit, the person basically has to walk into it. And even though at times they will actually, like that guy was in the fire. His pixels were actually touching it. He didn't catch on fire. And there are times where you're sitting there going, I hit that person and it didn't happen. And the thing is, you have to use that highlight portion, this, where they get highlighted, to understand that, okay, that's going to hit them and it's going to cause them to die. But sometimes you have to also take into account that there may be something blocking your way. Like, I don't know, a truck. So notice how there's a red there? That means I can't throw it. Now, obviously, you'd think, okay, I'm throwing it at the middle of a truck, but sometimes it's not so easy to detect. Like, okay, there. It's on the top of the truck, but it actually won't hit the top of the truck. That red end of it will say it will stop before it hits the truck. And so you're sitting there going, okay, wait, which one is it? And I wish there was a better way that the game showed you what rules it had in cases like this. Which in this case, I believe it's actually going to burn the truck. I like fire, so let's see if it actually burns the truck and explodes it. Yep, it does. So that one, it did work. In certain cases, that can get really frustrating when you have to blow up a truck and you're on down your last Molotov cocktail in the area because you used all the other ones. And when it misses, you just sort of scream out in frustration. One of the big things that I can use is my instinct. So the instinct basically shows you what you can interact with, what are your tasks. For example, all the red things are things that are related to my objectives, and yellow is usually things like medics or security guards that have specific functions that do more than just, be a victim. So this guy here, if I try to go into the club right here, he's going to stop me. And that's why I have to use that other exit. Now, there are certain ways to get around this guy, but okay. It's a good indicator from a instinct standpoint to show me that that guy's got a special rule about him. Now, you're going to use this instinct a lot, because the thing with the instinct is that it's going to show you things that you probably didn't see before. Like, that bong right there. Notice how it's blended into the club. And while it makes sense in terms of the aesthetic of the club, like being able to see that on a very, very wide back shot, you may repeatedly miss it. Okay, back to my run here. I've killed 5 of the 6 dealers, but I haven't killed any other bikers. And the thing is that some of these bikers are not really giving me a good opportunity to take them out. Like this biker here, he's in the middle of a dance floor, and while I can throw a grenade at him, trying to fight him specifically may be a problem. But certain times, like you see here, may be a perfect time because he's now alone. And now I can take him out. Patience is the name of the game if you want to go for those top objectives, because guess what? There are going to be times where you may have to follow somebody around for like 5 minutes, hoping that, the right opportunity, presents itself. Or you wait for them to fall asleep, take them into the bathroom, put the body down, flush the toilet, and then walk off. You know, and kill him, of course. Now, there are certain items that will help with, like, you know, some stun grenades that will, you know, knock people out. But here's the thing. It's usually a lot easier just to kill everybody. And the thing is that sometimes you have to kill people just to make some room in order to take these guys out. And so sometimes it's just easier to just say, okay, these people over here, yeah, let's just take them out. Let's just, you know, get rid of them. Before I go any further, one of the things that I have to complain about this game is that, remember how I talked about that yellow guy? You know, he's got a special rule about him. Well, here's the thing. This lady also has a special rule about her. She's the janitor staff. She cleans up after all these messes. I mean, you know, there's blood all over the club. People are still dancing. Don't know why, but they are. You can't kill her. And yet, the first time you come into the game, you're thinking you can. And there are some situations like that where the game doesn't do a good job of giving you that information, in particular in those niche cases. In fact, let me show you an example. All right, so this is one of the later levels in Act 1, and when you look at the top left, you think that there may be a way for you to get through the level without killing anybody, specifically the office keycard. And so I'm going around, I see these armed guards, they're obviously looking for me at all times. All right, I don't know what's going on. And then all of a sudden I look here and I'm like, oh, a suspicious device. Have no idea what it does. Is it a bomb? Am I able to blow this stuff up? No good information there. But here's the thing. What it does is it distracts the guards in terms of being able to look at that device. So let me throw it at one of the guards here. Okay, he didn't... Wait, what? You just forgot about? Okay, so the suspicious device seemingly drew him in, but it just sort of stopped what it was doing to do that. In fact, it was in the middle of catching me and then just said, oh, wait, no, there's a suspicious device. All right, let's walk up here. Oh, okay, so these guys are apparently enthralled with the specific device, but nothing about them has changed in terms of, oh, hey, the eye still above them, they're like they were before. And that drove me insane, because how do I know if these guys can be killed? How do I know if I'm okay if I come over here again? At a certain point, they actually stop looking at the suspicious device at times. Sometimes they stay all throughout the portion, and it can get really frustrating when you think you've got a situation handled, and then all of a sudden, it just sort of blows up in your face. Again, information in this game can be very inconsistent, and when it is a stealth game, that is a huge, huge negative. So when you combine this times where there seems to be misinformation, information that you needed to be presented that just isn't on screen, or bugs that happen where you have to either wait for a period of time or people are just stuck outside the map, it can lead to a lot of frustration, especially if you do the patient run of this game. It could take you 15-20 minutes to find the right opportunity in order to, take out these bikers, for example. Or you could just get really, really disgusted and just throw a frag grenade into a strip club-like area and just, take out one of them even though you didn't really want to kill anybody else. But with that said, that's also part of the game's value. The fact is that only certain people are going to be able to get through certain runs without killing anybody. And that frustration factor being so high, while still offering that other option of, okay, kill everybody, does work in the game's favor. Yes, there were certain points in this game where I said, okay, like this office keycard. I walked all around trying to figure out where this office keycard was. Looking. Is it on one of the guards? Is it, in the area in the back where the acid was? Never found it. And I just said, okay, screw it. I'll figure out it at some other time or when the walkthrough's available, because guess what? I'm reviewing this when there aren't walkthroughs available. But it is one of the rare cases where frustration works in the game's favor at times. Now, again, I want to be clear. Frustration via misinformation, not a good thing. But the frustration of waiting for your opportunity and then failing at the wrong point, when you know it's your fault, yes, that works for this game. And I admit, there were times where I was at, let's say 5 to 6 people, left, and then made a mistake, and it was like, oh shit. And one time, it just so happened to work out that the cops got ran over by another car, and I was able to escape and finish the level. And that was a glorious moment. There are moments like that in the game where something just happens and you are able to escape or just laugh at the situation that you've been put into. And you have to be patient to get to those areas, but when you do, it's fantastic. Now, one of the things that the game does in order to keep things fresh, even when you retry a level, is procedural generation. Now, the level layout themselves pretty much stays the same, at least in the levels that I've done. But when it comes to item locations and items in particular, or certain hazards in the environment, that's a different story. So, in this level, some of the hazards themselves, like this car, is usually there. But when it comes to, like, let's say the alcohol, as you see in that booze, in that stairwell on the top left there, no, that could be there. It also may not be. And that does help things, because you do have to then take a look at your environment and adjust a little bit each time. Now, there are certain things that stay the same in each level, and I think they chose correctly in terms of what they kept the same in most levels. The posters, for example, in particular, that poster that I showed you before, that's always in that location in the level, and I understand that, because if you're secret hunting, which this is a big part of the game, bribing the punk, taking the money, calling the circus, trying to find that secret in a procedurally generated portion could be a nightmare, because sometimes it may not be highlighted like it is here. And so I do like the fact that they kept certain elements the same. With that said, there are good configurations and levels, and then there can be bad ones. Let me show you. So one of the best examples is this motel level. Specifically, there is a car that will be present in this area. Sometimes it'll be right here. And even though it's not the greatest, it does at least allow you to lure a couple people in a bigger area. So, like, I can launch it, and I get 2. Depending on where it is, I can get 3 or 4. Now, let me show you a different configuration. Now, let's look at this configuration here. Here's the thing. There is not a lot of room between this specific, like, barbecue pit and that car. In fact, when it comes to walking in front of this, a lot of people will actually walk around it. And so this car can maybe get, 2 or 3 people, but that's, again, about it. While the configuration before, you saw 5 or 6. Hell, the cop car there got 3, and that car got 1 itself, which is actually one of the funnest parts about this game, is watching the cops and everybody else kill themselves, because sometimes the AI is really stupid. My point is that in that case, it can be really, really sucky if you get a bad configuration, just because, you just had some bad luck. All right, I've got most everybody here, and you know what? Let's just start spilling some gasoline. Let's try to get these guys, these last 2. I don't know actually if this grenade is going to work, but we're gonna see. Now, when it comes to some of these other weapon types, I do have to admit that some of these weapons are very, very hit and miss. In particular, when it comes to, like, Molotov cocktails, you have to be very careful about how you use them, because you can miss. And the amount of precision that you need at times in order to hit your target can be ridiculous at times. Like, you could throw it literally at their feet. They could be looking like they're standing in the fire, and they're fine, and there's no problems. And you're sitting there going, wait, how did they survive? Usually it gives an indicator like this white over a person when you're hitting them that, yeah, okay, that's going to hit them. All right, I've killed my people. I can evacuate, so which I'm going to do so I can show you another part of it. I've left the level. It gives me a time as well as a score. Bottom left there is 4 categories in which the game sort of gives you some feedback on. So in the top right, challenges: execute a 5 combo, a 10 combo, and kill a cop. Those are anarchy totals, and I get anarchy points. Hide from the cops, okay? The badge one, I think, is like law and order. You know what? Let me just show you. So there are 4 different types of scores that you can get. You can get a criminal, anarchy, stealth, and mystic. And each of them have certain unlocks and specific character unlocks that are associated with them. So if I do things like question partygoers, or usually the good one, that's the criminal. I'm taking out specific criminals, and I'll get points for that. Only if you complete the level. And one of my big gripes about this game is that I'm about 15 hours in, and I would expect there to be at least another character unlocked. See, characters have their specific abilities. Like here, I got party vision and multi-kill on the default character. I got wannabe, but Kaiotek, Shano Panda, I have to unlock. And the thing is, it takes a while to unlock, especially with the fact that I don't understand why failed runs don't necessarily give you points at a certain point. Now, I do know that there are certain levels that you could really exploit the system, especially in the anarchy system, in order to unlock things, but I don't understand why the progression is so high in this game when it comes to those other characters. Maybe they're waiting for me to complete the game as the party hard killer, but it just feels unnecessary. Let's start wrapping things up because I'm already at the 23-minute mark, and I do need to talk a little bit about other elements of the game. There is a story to the game, and while it is on par with the Party Hard 1, it is a little bit conjoined because they do have a couple of different presentation styles. They have, you know, like a talk show where you're being talked about that seems to be in the future, but then you get these moments where you're actually in the moment themselves. It is interesting enough there I would want to see the ending of it, but some of the other gameplay elements ended up causing me other problems that I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to do it. I wanted to see it but didn't need to. In addition, the art and the presentation, stuff like this, it's a little bit weird because you get this art style and it can be a little bit strange with like that little red that happened there. Like it's a blood effect, but not really. And then you get this picture of this guy's face in this, I guess it's a drug or acid, and it just looks strange to me. I don't know what to put my finger on in terms of like why it's strange to me, but it just has this weird, I guess it's an 80s vibe to it, but it doesn't necessarily hit it the entire way. Now, as for other presentation elements, like the pixel art style obviously stands out a little bit, and while I don't necessarily have a problem with it, I did expect a little bit more detail at times. Now, granted, you can pick out all these characters here. There is no, repeats, and well, at least not a lot of repeats in terms of some of the detail on them. And they do have little things like this guy's hat with like the 3, little orbs on it that, yeah, they're cool. And there are things like the fire effect there and the DJ table there that, yeah, I think they're reasonable. But like then you get something like this tree and it's just like, oh, it's so pixely, and compared to everything else, it just almost looks out of place. So the presentation can be hit and miss. In addition, sound-wise, when it comes to the actual sound of the in-game like kills and things like that, they aren't necessarily the greatest. Where it does shine is the music. The music really feels like that 80s party style kind of situation, and it does surprisingly work. It's like this music, you listen to it here. You're sitting there going, this doesn't really scream serial killer, and yet you're at a party, it is the 80s, and it sort of jives with your kills at times. It's actually really creepy that like you can get into a rhythm based off of what else is going around you. So it is strange, but with that said, it works. Overall, the thing that Party Hard 2 suffers from is that when I look at the original game and I look at what it did well, it was something completely different than what I had seen before. And it was definitely had that newness factor to it. It had a lot of frustrations, and the thing is, so does this game. But with that said, with that Party Harder 1 already under the belt, I look at Party Hard 2 and I say, what does it bring to the table that's new? Things like the, crafting system, things like, a couple of different kills and a little bit more of interactive environments. Yeah, but there's still a lot of the frustrations that the first game had, maybe even a little bit worse than the original in terms of, levels dragging out. It isn't necessarily great at times when you need to do certain things. And quite frankly, there are just certain elements in terms of the technical side, like here, this person died and look at that body. Look at that. Like, that feels like that's a glitch of some sort. The thing that may save Party Hard 2 in my mind is actually something that, unfortunately, I didn't necessarily get a chance to test, and that's its Twitch integration. Okay, so one of the things that can happen here is that you can actually put specific items and things in the game, and specifically, so there is a Twitch integration when it comes to choosing a king, and the king in question is able to use an objective command to indicate, oh, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and is able to sort of set up the map and set up a challenge for you. The thing is that integration could definitely keep the game alive and let you interact with your Twitch followers. Now, granted, I would strongly advise anybody who is looking to Twitch this game to go look at other Twitch streams that have already gotten it and see what is going on there, because again, I tried to get it to work, but just timing wise, I didn't have the chance to be able to stream the game. But if anything saves the game, it's the fact that somebody can do this and make up for some of the randomization problems that the game has and keep things a little bit more fresh. Twitch or not, here's the thing. Party Hard 2, in the end, does a lot of things well. When it comes to the stealth genre and some of the moments that can be created, that tension where, you are trying to find that certain person, you're trying to kill them in a certain way, and that patience that you need, it can absolutely work. Some of the best moments in this game is when you get through something where, by the skin of your teeth. And frankly, not a lot of games can do that in this kind of setting with the uniqueness to it. In addition, it's nice that the game does have multiple options in terms of, okay, I can go stealthy, or I can start, going into a little bit more of a serial killer, like, stab, stab, stab mode, as long as I hit my certain marks. With that said, one of the biggest problems that the game runs into is its inconsistent information. The fact is that you will run into situations where the game does something that you just had absolutely no idea it was going to do, and you feel like the game almost contradicted itself in the process. So, when it comes to my overall score, knowing that this is a critical eye review, I have not beaten the game. I have 15 to 20 hours into it. You can see my Steam profile to see how many hours I have in it right now. The game scores a 70 out of 100, making it a niche buy for those who love the genre. But for everybody else, it's probably a game that you'll wait for a significant sale on. Now, with that said, but unlike other review channels, I use something called an enhancer system. It takes the more subjective elements of a review, things like, let's say, particular gameplay styles or particular quirks that a person may have or a player may have, and takes them into account with the score. So, if you fall into one of these enhancers, add or subtract that score to the main score. If your first digit changes in terms of the final score, then refer to this chart in order to see where this game lies for you on the buyability score. Again, a very niche game, so there is a situation here where this game could be an absolute must-buy for a particular player. There also may be a situation where this game is a no-play for a particular player, and the enhancers help do that. Now, for those who have been fans of the channel, or if you're new to the channel, I will ask a couple of things. I do have a curator system, and one of the things that I'm trying to do is get a little bit more attention to my curator on Steam. So I will put that in the description below. If you could join that if you enjoyed this review or find my reviews useful, that would be helpful to me. In addition, coming up next on the channel, I will be doing some more reviews like this. This is atypical for me in terms of the review style. It's a little bit more freeform, and even though you will be getting full reviews in time, I'm hoping that I can do these a little bit more often because, again, things like Graveyard Keeper were effective in terms of being able to get it out on release day, while I still thought it was very informative for people. Anyway, this is Dragnix signing out. Again, I'm not going to ask you for likes, comments, subscribe. All I ask is that if you find parts of the presentation helpful or not, leave your comments in the comments section below. The best way that I can grow as a channel is to, well, become a better creator, and I do that by becoming a better creator via your feedback. Anyway, this is Dragnix signing out, and as always, keep on gaming, and keep on dancing. And stabbing. Stabbing everything. No calls. Okay. Nope, not here. Dancing. No, okay.